In the spotlight of Hollywood's glamour lies a story shrouded in darkness, a tale that ties the luminous to the sinister through the life and death of Jenny Maxwell. Her name is now remembered not just for her brief career, but for the chilling circumstances surrounding her death, which reveals a chilling link to the tragic murder of Marilyn Monroe's cousin. The story unravels the complex web of her life, showing how her beauty and fame masked a fragile vulnerability that made her susceptible to danger. As we delve deeper into this story, we see how her story reflects broader themes of fame's fleeting nature, the hidden perils behind the curtain of stardom, and the unforeseen tragedies that can strike even those with the brightest smiles. It exposes a dark chapter where innocence was lost, not just through violence, but through the broader cultural shifts and personal vulnerabilities that defined her era. This story isn't merely about celebrity or crime. It's a stark reminder of the shadows lurking behind the dazzling lights, shadows that can reach even the most seemingly protected. Jenny Maxwell was born on September 3, 1941, in Brooklyn, New York, into a working-class Norwegian-American family. Her father, a strict and conservative man, worked a modest job, while her mother upheld traditional values deeply rooted in their heritage. Life in the Maxwell household was structured, with religion and hard work forming the pillars of the family's beliefs. Despite these firm foundations, Jenny was a curious and vibrant child, always eager to explore the world around her. She began to develop an awareness of her physical beauty at a young age. Her Scandinavian features, light hair, blue eyes, and a statuesque build set her apart from others, and would later become a key aspect of her public persona. Growing up, Jenny never fully conformed to the traditional expectations set for her. While her family valued simplicity and hard work, she was drawn to performance from an early age. She would often mimic movie stars in front of the mirror, dreaming of a life beyond the ordinary streets of Brooklyn. It became clear that she didn't quite fit into the mold her parents envisioned for her, and her bold personality began to shine through. Although her upbringing was modest, it was filled with love and warmth, but there were also hints of rebellion and a desire for something more. Jenny's childhood was a mix of structure and imagination, creating a foundation for the ambitious young woman she would later become. It was only later in life that Jenny would learn an intriguing piece of her family history. She was a distant cousin of Marilyn Monroe. Though their connection was far removed, the striking resemblance between the two would eventually become a point of interest for casting directors. This unexpected family link added an element of mystery to her persona, adding to her allure in the eyes of the public. Despite her humble beginnings, Jenny's natural beauty and determination would lead her to a career in the spotlight, but her journey was shaped by the unique blend of family values, self-awareness, and a desire to stand out that marked her early life. Soon after Jenny Maxwell's discovery in Hollywood, her journey was marked by the unpredictable blend of timing, natural beauty, and opportunities that came her way. In her early teens, she started to attend acting classes, encouraged by a school drama teacher who saw her potential and believed she had the talent to become something special. During a crucial audition in Los Angeles, director Vincente Minnelli, famous for his artistic vision and ability to find new talent, noticed her. He was struck by her genuine charm and her ability to connect with the camera. Minnelli believed she had the qualities that could be shaped into a star. Because of this, she landed small roles that allowed her to gain experience and visibility. Her career quickly gained momentum, and she soon got her big break in the film industry. In 1961, she starred in Elvis Presley's movie Blue Hawaii, portraying a lively and flirtatious teenage girl, a role that helped shape her image for the audience and solidified her place in Hollywood. Despite her rising fame, her personal life became complicated. At just 16 years old, she married Paul Rapp, an assistant director who was much older. The marriage, which seemed romantic at first, soon became difficult. Her parents disapproved because of the age gap and the abrupt change in their daughter's future. The marriage separated her from her family's influence and thrust her into a world of contracts, fame, and public attention. Her youth was essentially cut short as she was pushed into adult responsibilities far too early, with her private life facing emotional struggles and control issues. As she continued to work and attend auditions, she also experienced increasing loneliness and a growing realization that Hollywood might not be able to fulfill her original dreams. From the moment Jenny Maxwell stepped into the Hollywood spotlight in the early 1960s, she became a recognizable face that captured attention with her youthful charm and natural charisma. As her fame grew, So did her involvement in the glamorous social scene filled with lavish parties, star-studded gatherings, and late-night outings. This world of glitz held a magnetic allure, but also led her into a maze of temptation and chaos that often blurred the lines between glamour and danger. Her presence at industry events made her a favorite among peers, yet behind this carefully crafted star image lay a private life increasingly overshadowed by the demands and excesses of Hollywood's social whirl. Her role in the film Blue Hawaii, alongside Elvis Presley, was a defining moment not only for her career but also for her public image. Her chemistry with Elvis on and off the screen sparked intense media interest and fueled rumors of a romance that never was confirmed. However, these rumors had a different effect within her personal life, especially on her husband, Paul Rapp. His jealousy intensified as he believed the gossip, and tabloids, which exaggerated her relationship with Elvis, suggested a deeper connection. Rapp's growing distrust led him to become controlling and possessive, allegedly monitoring her actions and reacting with anger and suspicion. Caught between her marriage, her desire for independence, and her rising fame, Jenny Maxwell found herself increasingly strained under the weight of her social and professional life. Her popularity opened doors to opportunities many actresses would dream of, but it also cost her a sense of privacy and peace. The tension between her aspirations and the realities of her personal circumstances created a complex, often turbulent, journey through her brief but memorable time in the spotlight. Her experience exemplifies how fame can sometimes come with a heavy toll, shaping her life in ways she might not have fully anticipated. Nevertheless, the marriage between Jenny Maxwell and Paul Rapp grew increasingly toxic as the 1960s went on. Rapp, who had once been a supportive partner, became bitter and jealous of Jenny's rising fame. He began to control her actions, her relationships, and her emotions, creating a tense atmosphere that drained her both emotionally and mentally. Friends and colleagues noticed her becoming more withdrawn, her hesitation on film sets, and the way her cheerful exterior faded. The conflicts between Jenny and Rapp escalated until they reached the point of legal action, and Jenny decided to file for divorce after enduring years of emotional stress. The divorce process was painful, especially because of the custody battle over their son Brian. Rapp fought hard to keep custody, using his legal knowledge to sway the court. He painted Jenny as an unstable, party-loving actress who was unfit to be a mother. The court ultimately awarded full custody to Rapp, which devastated Jenny deeply, as her sense of identity was already fragile. Losing her son tore her apart and left her feeling helpless and overwhelmed with grief, and guilty. Her acting career suffered heavily as casting agents turned away, and she became more isolated, feeling emotionally drained and defeated. Her career, which once flourished, came to a halt, and she disappeared from public view for a while. Those years were extremely difficult for Jenny, filled with reflection, remorse, and the long process of trying to regain her confidence and her place in her son's life. It took time, but Jenny refused to give up completely on her future or herself. Despite facing many setbacks, and setbacks often felt like heavy burdens, Jenny Maxwell refused to let her past define her future. In the mid-1960s, she embarked on a slow but steady journey to reclaim her place in the entertainment world. She started taking acting classes again, pushing herself to improve and expand her skills. She networked with industry people, showing persistence and resilience that gradually opened new doors. Her guest appearances on television became more frequent, and her performances on shows like My Three Sons helped rekindle her reputation as a talented actress. These roles allowed her to shed some of her previous image and demonstrate growth, more depth, and authenticity in her acting. Audiences could see a new Jenny emerging, one with real experience and emotional depth that transcended her pretty face. Meanwhile, her personal life also began to shift. With changing legal circumstances, she regained partial custody of her son Brian, which became her foremost priority. She placed more importance on being a mother and nurturing her bond with him than on chasing fleeting fame. Her focus shifted from high-profile projects to more stable and respectful roles, allowing her to balance her career with her new responsibilities. Her appearance on The Wild Wild West in 1968 marked a highlight in her comeback, capturing the attention of fans and industry insiders alike. Rumors of larger roles and long-term contracts circulated, suggesting she was on the verge of a major resurgence. Yet, despite these promising signs, Jenny made a surprising choice. She decided to withdraw from the entertainment industry completely, turning her attention toward her son and their relationship. Fame had once seemed like the ultimate goal, But now, she saw that true fulfillment lay in motherhood and healing personal wounds. After years in the limelight, Jenny Maxwell faced a different kind of challenge as her acting career waned and Hollywood's glitter faded from her life. She began to consider more practical options to secure her future, realizing that dreams alone might not sustain her anymore. This shift led her to marry Irvin Tip Roeder, a prominent Los Angeles attorney whose reputation was a mixture of success and suspicion. Roeder was known for being a skilled courtroom lawyer, but he also had a shadowy side that included whispered rumors and unanswered questions. People talked about his possible connections to some murky Hollywood incidents, and although no formal charges were ever made, his name was linked to the mysterious death of actor Nick Adams. Jenny's friends questioned her choice, knowing her complicated past and the risks involved. Still, she seemed to prioritize stability and safety, seeking a life of comfort that Roeder could provide through his wealth and influence. His lifestyle included exclusive private clubs and luxurious homes, which gave her a taste of the security she craved. However, her new marriage was not without problems. Roeder's controlling and possessive attitude echoed some patterns from her previous marriage, and she often felt caught between dependence and discomfort. Despite these difficulties, Jenny stayed with Roeder in the hope that the stability she found might give her peace. Yet, entering this world of wealth and influence seemed to have a darker side that may have contributed to her tragic end. Underneath the shiny surface of a glamorous Beverly Hills lifestyle, the marriage of Jenny Maxwell and Irvin Tip Roeder was riddled with deep-seated problems that went beyond the public eye. Their marriage, which looked perfect from the outside, was actually a battleground of psychological manipulation and emotional control. From the beginning, it was clear that their relationship was built more on convenience and needing to survive than on love or trust. Over time, this bond became increasingly toxic and unsettling as Roeder's need to dominate clashed with Jenny's desire for love and validation. This led to a twisted cycle where Jenny would talk about her romantic affairs, sometimes feeling guilty, but often showing pride or a desire to provoke Roeder's jealousy. She used her affairs as a way to fight back against his controlling nature, aware that her actions could stir a volatile reaction. This was not just defiance, it was a form of retaliation, a way to regain some feeling of power. Friends who watched the couple described the tension as thick and dangerous, almost like a loaded gun always ready to go off. The glamorous image they showed to the world masked a reality of emotional warfare and manipulation that slowly eroded their connection. As Jenny grew more tired and disillusioned, she continued to push boundaries without realizing how dangerous Roeder's jealous anger could become, leaving behind a trail of emotional damage that shadowed their final years together. As Jenny neared the 10-year mark of her marriage to Roeder, she carefully planned her next steps, knowing that reaching this milestone could give her a stronger claim to their shared assets. Her idea was to wait until she legally qualified for a larger share of their wealth before filing for divorce, believing that this delay would maximize her financial gain. She confided in close friends, sharing her intentions and asking questions about divorce laws in California, where asset division is often based on community property rules. She thought that her patience and careful timing would give her an advantage, and she was convinced she could outlast Roeder's manipulative tactics. However, what Jenny did not know was that Roeder had already made a decisive move, one that changed their entire situation. Months before her plan, he had altered his will, removing Jenny completely. In this new legal document, he detailed his feelings with hostility, calling her a lying, cheating, deceitful woman, and claiming she deserved nothing from him. He went further by including a handwritten note, emphasizing that he wanted his contempt and anger toward her to be on record forever. This act showed that Roeder was not just financially motivated, but also motivated by revenge and a desire for control. Jenny's strategy involved patience and hope, yet she had underestimated her husband's ruthlessness and cunning. She believed she had time, that she had the upper hand, but Roeder had already set his next move, playing by a different, more dangerous set of rules. Despite her fame and success, Jenny Maxwell faced a turbulent period marked by erratic behavior that alarmed everyone around her. As her relationship with Roeder grew more unstable, his actions turned increasingly bizarre and frightening. One night, he staged a fake break-in at their home that was so unrealistic that even neighbors and friends immediately recognized it as a performance. The scene was chaotic, with drawers ransacked and belongings broken, giving the illusion of chaos. When police arrived, Roeder claimed he had been assaulted, showing a shallow wound on his arm that he said was evidence of an attack by an unknown assailant. However, the police quickly noticed inconsistencies. The wound looked self-inflicted, and the scene was poorly staged. Reports from neighbors detailed that they had heard no disturbance, debunking the story entirely. It was obvious to Jenny and her friends that Roeder's actions were manipulative, possibly designed to create a false story for personal gain, or to influence the upcoming divorce. Some believed he was trying to cover his tracks to prevent losing finances, or perhaps to justify future violence. Others feared he was slipping into paranoia and delusion, potentially contemplating something more dangerous like murder-suicide. Despite friends' attempts to help or intervene, Roeder remained proud and calculating, dismissing concerns and pushing them away. Meanwhile, Jenny grew more anxious and confided in loved ones that she felt unsafe in her own home. The signs of distress kept mounting, illustrating a disturbing pattern of behavior that hinted at a dark and unpredictable future. From the whispers that grew into terrifying suspicions, the weeks before Jenny Maxwell's death became a dark story of obsession and betrayal. Friends and acquaintances of Roeder, her husband, shared disturbing details that painted a chilling picture. They recounted how Roeder had on multiple occasions spoken about having Jenny killed. These conversations took place during casual moments, but the language he used was frightening. He seemed obsessed with the idea of removing both Jenny and a man she might have been involved with romantically. His questions to friends about whether they knew anyone who could take care of a problem suggested he was searching for someone outside his circle, someone willing to carry out a violent act. While some friends dismissed his comments as drunken talk, others warned him to stop talking like that. The fact that he even asked made investigators take notice, indicating a possible intent beyond simple threats. When Jenny and Roeder were found dead, authorities initially thought it was a random act of violence, possibly a botched carjacking. Curiously, nothing was stolen, and no suspects ever emerged. The evidence, including Roeder's life insurance policies and his will, which excluded Jenny, pointed to a carefully planned murder rather than a spontaneous crime. The fact that the case remains unsolved to this day fuels speculation that Roeder himself may have orchestrated everything, possibly even paying someone outside his circle to carry out the act, and that his own life was lost as a consequence of that dark plan. Those who knew the truth about his controlling, paranoid nature see a twisted story of manipulation and murder behind the tragic events. On the afternoon of June 10, 1981, tragedy struck in a shocking and surreal manner in Beverly Hills, a city known for its wealth and glamour. Jenny Maxwell and her estranged husband, Irvin Tip Roeder, were both shot in the lobby of her condominium building, an event that stunned everyone who heard about it. At first, the media quickly reported it as a robbery gone wrong, a typical street crime that could happen anywhere. However, as investigations continued, strange details emerged that did not fit the robbery story. Nothing was stolen during the attack. There were no purses, wallets, jewelry, or valuables taken. This made investigators suspicious because robbers usually want something of value. The scene itself didn't look like a typical robbery either. It seemed more like something personal, something with emotional roots. As weeks passed, more clues pointed to a different kind of story. Witnesses and investigators noticed inconsistencies and began to believe the shooting was planned. Some thought it was not just a random crime but an organized act, possibly a trap or a revenge killing. There were theories that it might have been a murder-suicide pact, but the details didn't match neatly. Others believed Roeder might have been responsible for Jenny's death, either by pulling the trigger himself or by hiring someone else. The idea was that Roeder's involvement had spiraled out of control, leading to both of their deaths and a tragic, bloody end. What remained undeniable was that within minutes Jenny and Roeder were dead, their lives ending in violence, fear, and betrayal. Their troubled marriage, full of tension and volatility, seemed to culminate in this devastating double shooting. The investigators, the media, and those close to Jenny questioned what really happened, but the truth remained elusive, shadowed by suspicion and doubt. The incident marked a dark chapter in the lives of those involved, and left many questions unanswered about the real story behind that deadly day. The tragedy did not end at the crime scene. In the weeks that followed, the legal fallout took an even more devastating toll, because Jenny had died first, likely by just minutes. Roeder, under California law, legally inherited her entire estate. But the cruel irony didn't stop there. Roeder, having recently removed Jenny from his will in an act of bitter revenge, had named only his children from a previous marriage as beneficiaries. That meant everything Jenny had worked for, saved, or hoped to pass on to her son Brian was now gone. Legally, it was airtight. Morally, it was devastating. Brian, the child Jenny had fought so hard to reconnect with, whom she had sacrificed a major part of her career to raise again, received absolutely nothing. Not a dollar, not a keepsake, not a photograph. Friends of the family called it one of the coldest outcomes they had ever witnessed: a woman murdered, her estranged and abusive husband dying moments later, and the entire estate, everything, siphoned away to people who had no connection to Jenny at all. It was the final injustice in a life already marked by betrayal, control, and misfortune. The law did what it was designed to do, but it could not serve justice. After her life ended, Jenny Maxwell's story remained hushed for many years, quietly discussed among Hollywood insiders, whispered warnings passed from one to another, and later examined through retrospective articles that tried to understand the chaos surrounding her. Her legacy is filled with contradictions. She was a woman blessed with beauty, fame, and early potential, yet she was also caught in circumstances far beyond her control. Her life was a series of struggles as she sought love and security, but often in the wrong places, which led to tragic consequences. As details about her difficult relationships emerged, some critics argued that she had played a role in her own downfall, pointing to her provocative behavior and questionable choices. However, these opinions tend to overlook the larger issues of power imbalance, abuse, and systemic silencing that many women face in toxic relationships. Jenny endured emotional manipulation, psychological battles, and financial dependence on a system that punished women for seeking independence. She fought to survive within this oppressive environment, trying to hold on to her dignity, her hope of freedom, and her connection with her son. Her attempts to rebuild her life and reconnect with her child were torn away in moments of violence and cruelty, marked by gunfire and legal loopholes that erased her not only physically, but also from her own story. Her life highlights how easily women, especially those in vulnerable situations, can be erased from memory and history, not just from the world, but from the legacy they leave behind. After considering the story of Jenny Maxwell in the context of moral reflections, it becomes clear that her life raises complex questions about how society views women and their choices. Throughout her life, Maxwell's story has been viewed through different lenses, often causing sharp divisions among the public. Some people criticize her for her personal decisions, such as her affairs and staying in a marriage that was dangerous. They see her as someone who made poor choices that led to her tragic end. Others look at her more sympathetically, suggesting that her story reflects the limited options women had in her times, especially in a culture that often punished women's beauty and independence. Her life hints at how men could use their power to control and hurt women, making her a symbol of the broader risks women face when they are reduced to objects or pawns, rather than being recognized as full human beings. One core truth that everyone should see clearly is that emotional mistakes or personal failures, no matter how serious, do not justify violence or murder. Jenny Maxwell's death was a terrible tragedy, and no one deserves that fate. The harmful idea that infidelity, provoking a partner, or seeking financial security could warrant death is rooted in dangerous misogyny, not morality. Her story is not just about Hollywood fame or failed marriages. It's a stark reminder of how society often devalues women, especially when they are no longer under the control or protection of others. If her life and death are examined honestly, without glamorizing or condemning prematurely, we may learn something important about protecting women from suffering abuse and emotional control. Her story emphasizes the need to speak out about the hidden dangers women face when their humanity is ignored, and it offers a chance to recognize that violence against women is never justified, no matter the circumstances. By sharing her truth openly and without judgment, there is hope that more conversations about abuse, ownership, and emotional coercion will begin, helping to prevent other tragedies from unfolding. Jenny Maxwell's tragic death, alongside her companion Irvin Tip Roeder, delves deep into the psychological deterioration and power struggles that can manifest within toxic relationships. Roeder, a man of considerable stature in the legal world, had long portrayed an image of power, sophistication, and control. On the outside, he exuded confidence and success, dominating both the courtroom and the social circles he frequented. Yet, underneath this polished exterior, a much darker reality was taking shape. Over the years, the emotional weight of his marriage began to erode his sense of control, identity, and security. The relationship between Roeder and Maxwell was fraught with tension, Infidelity, jealousy, and secrecy plagued their marriage, creating an environment where manipulation and emotional abuse thrived. As the emotional games escalated, Roeder found himself pushed to a breaking point. His obsession with maintaining dominance over Jenny became an all-consuming force, one that slowly fractured his mental state. What began as a relationship founded on love and attraction gradually devolved into something toxic and manipulative. Roeder's need to control, driven by a combination of ego and entitlement, began to overshadow everything else. Jenny, for her part, seemed to provoke these emotions, whether consciously or unconsciously, making herself a target for Roeder's increasingly erratic behavior. While her actions might not have justified the violence that eventually unfolded, they nonetheless fed into the toxic dynamics that were slowly consuming Roeder. As the relationship wore on, Roeder's sense of powerlessness grew. Unable to control Jenny's actions or dictate the course of their marriage, his mind twisted further. In his fractured state, he came to view her death as the only way to assert the control he so desperately craved. It wasn't a moment of blind rage. It was the culmination of years of emotional manipulation, insecurity, and power struggles that had built up over time. Jenny Maxwell's death at the hands of Roeder was not just the result of one catastrophic event, but the tragic final act of a deeply flawed relationship. It serves as a chilling reminder of how unchecked emotional manipulation can destroy both individuals involved, regardless of their external appearances or status. Even someone with as much power and influence as Roeder is vulnerable to the destructive forces of ego, jealousy, and obsession when left unchecked. From the moment Jenny Maxwell stepped into Hollywood, she captivated audiences not only with her striking appearance, but also with a magnetic presence that drew people in. She was more than just a pretty face. Her charm was layered with depth, vulnerability, and a desire for genuine connection. Her story is often seen as a tragic Hollywood tale, but it is also a story of survival, confusion, and heartbreak that touches on universal themes. Jenny's life illustrated how actresses at the time, often expected to be symbols of beauty and innocence, struggled to find their own independence and voice in a world that often punished women for asserting themselves. Her marriage to Roeder initially appeared to promise stability, but quickly turned into a trap filled with control, manipulation, and threats that gradually stripped her of her freedom. Despite her efforts to live boldly and refuse silence, the tension grew as her resilience was chipped away by a combination of emotional suppression and unseen dangers. Her refusal to be subdued and her pursuit of autonomy made her dangerous in the eyes of a man like Roeder, whose need for control bordered on obsession. Their conflict reached a tragic climax when her fight for emancipation collided with his dangerous obsession, ultimately resulting in her death. This story is not merely a Hollywood legend, but a human tragedy, illustrating how abusers can hide behind charm, wealth, and superficial beauty. It reveals that emotional trauma, like physical violence, can have devastating consequences, often unnoticed until it is too late. Jenny Maxwell's life is a haunting reminder that monsters can be disguised behind familiar faces and outward charm, making her story a powerful warning about the hidden dangers that lurk behind seemingly perfect facades. Her story endures as a poignant example of the tragic toll of emotional and physical abuse, urging a deeper understanding of the complex damage inflicted by those who wield power in silent and destructive ways. As we reflect on the story of Jenny Maxwell and the tragic events that led to her untimely death, it becomes clear that behind the glamour of Hollywood lies a world fraught with secrets and dangers. Her life story serves as a stark example of how fame can sometimes mask deep vulnerabilities, making even the brightest stars susceptible to harm. The link to Marilyn Monroe's cousin adds a haunting layer to the narrative, emphasizing how tragedy can extend beyond individual lives and echo through history. The story underscores the fragile nature of fame and the unpredictability of life in the spotlight. It reminds us that beneath the surface of success and beauty, there can be darkness that hides shadows from the past and present. These stories encourage us to look deeper into the lives of those in the limelight and consider the unseen struggles they face. The tragic end to Jenny Maxwell's life is a poignant reminder of how easily innocence can be lost, and how the pursuit of fame can sometimes lead to destruction. Her story, intertwined with the tragic fate of Marilyn Monroe's family, highlights the enduring power of mystery and the importance of understanding the human side behind the celebrity. It leaves us contemplating how many stories like hers remain hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered.